Hello, welcome to Animalotic. You know that I have done stories on former members of Scientology and their advocates, and now I am going to bring it to you once again. So hang in there. Let's get started. Former members of Scientology has been up front about their time in the organization are known for having homophobic views on the on in the L on the LGBT. The Church of Scientology and the LGBT community is noticeably between formal statements, which is what they're known for. In reality, they have an anti-LGBT community policy within the organization. Former members had revelation that Scientology have homophobic views within the LGBTQ things that anyone, whether it's a person or any other place but it should stop there. Hurting people shouldn't be one of them. They can worship anything they want as long as they don't hurt people. But guess what? Scientology does. All of L. Ron Hubbard's writing has the LGBT community categorized as perverts. They've been keeping that for secret for years. He viewed homosexuality as mentally ill, but publicly David Miscavige in public face made claims that Scientology is the most tolerant. That's only in public. But in reality, Miscavige and the Office of Special Affairs, or OSA, are homophobic, lead to a huge conflict within the organization's scripture that L. Ron Hubbard had written. In Scientology survival, he had homosexual is cause of mental immortality and ranked the members who are in the LGBTQ committee at 1.1. That's the low ranking in Scientology on the bridge to total freedom. Oh, geez. I should have thought of showing you the chart. But however, next time when I talk about whatever's on the bridge of total freedom, I'll have it for you. But right now I don't have it. So, which is a rank in Scientology that Hubbard had written in his book of hate and viewed them as dangerous. You know what? People are people no matter what. Now, Okay, maybe it's the case that some are, but not all of them are. So L. Ron Hubbard doesn't know what he's talking about. They're just like every other ordinary people. Sure, they might be a murderer out there somewhere in the world, but there's nothing you can do about it. Q community? Maybe. Not all of them, some of them. It doesn't mean all of them are dangerous. So this would have the LGBTQ community in shock, disbelief. Well, it shouldn't be a shock because there are people out there who speak out against them when it's not necessary. And L. Ron Hubbard really did a job on them. So we just have to treat them like they're people. And we have to treat people in other religions, such as Buddhism, Wicca, Hindu, whatever religion it could be. Now, we're still going to accept Christianity. Just as long you don't harm anyone, you can practice any religion you want. Now, people, we're going to have to stop fighting like this. We're going to have to accept each other and one another like people and treat every living thing on earth with kindness. Because man's best friend, you know what I'm talking about, a dog with kindness. We cannot use animals to hurt people. But Scientology knows that the members would love their animals the most, and that's why they're going after them. Now, they can make any claims that they want, but guess what? I decide to bring up the issue of animals because that's what I am. I'm also an animal rights activist. So, and I will bring more animal issues. So, the Scientology is accepting LGBTQ community as members if they go through the auditing to treat their homosexuality, which there is no such thing. Just like there's no such thing as turning a brunette into a blonde unless, you know what, they decide to dye their hair. Otherwise, there's no such thing as a cure for homosexuality. And you definitely can't pray that they go back. No, you can't pray that they'll change. They're always going to be that way, no matter how many times a day you pray. God made them like that. And we're going to have to accept it. Nature made them that way. We're going to have to. Now, I do go to church sometimes, just not all the time. And that's the reason. That's one of the reasons why I only go sometimes. We're just going to have to learn to accept one another and other religions too, as long as they don't hurt anybody or harm a living soul. Ex-members said that they would make them believe that attracted to the same sex is terrible and has to be controlled. I mean, come on. You can't control how another person and you can't control them how to think either. You can't do that to anyone, much less the LGBTQ community. You're going to have to accept them as they are. But Scientology doesn't. They treat them like dirt. When I met gays and lesbians in the past, they weren't perverts. They weren't going around being perverts. I spent time with them. They haven't once stood on me. They were always gracious towards me. And if Scientology says otherwise, then guess what? They're empty-headed jerks. Scientology, ex-Scientologists had spoke out about the organization's secret homophobic views, which disputes their public image. What? Since the internet came around, each and every truth came out. So there's no way they can hide now. So guess what? We're gonna believe the person that's talking. Because there was lots of evidence on the internet seeing them hurt another person. One of the Scientologists even threw water at the protesters. And in Clearwater, when they threw buckets of water at the protesters. Now, they can no longer lie about it. Because guess what? One of them even destroyed Scott Holstager's, I hope I said that right, Scott's barbecue. They wrecked it. They vandalized it and then went into the building. Now, they no longer. Right after they left that organization, a lesbian was forced to marry a member of the opposite. So I guess they must have found out about it. Is that lesbian still there? I doubt it. Then another ex-member would describe that another member was forced to read Hubbard's scripture describing his view on the LGBTQ community, which is the cruelest thing to do. Scientology depiction of marriage that is described in St. Petersburg Times around 2004 that the organization describes marriage between a man and a woman. That's the way L. Ron Hubbard wrote it. And David Miscavige makes sure everybody thinks that. And so does OSA. Scientology's policy supports Proposition 8 in California, which would ban same-sex marriages. Now, Proposition 8 has been gone now for some time. It hasn't been in the public eye. But they still support it. The policy that Scientology had adapted that proposition had to exit, had Paul Higgs exit Scientology altogether. And as you recall, Nora Ames and Liz Ferris, along with Serge DeMar, are openly gay. And Liz Ferris talked about how she was abused because of her sexuality and ended up getting hurt. And, well, you know what happened next? She ended up having a boy and she gave it up for adoption. But then one day she lost that son of hers and she was really upset. So Scientology and their tolerance of the LGBTQ community is non-existent. They lie about it. That's what they're capable of doing, is lying. They tell bold-faced lies. So the next time they claim that they're doing wonderful things or tolerant or we're doing great things, no, they're not. So don't believe them because it's a bold-faced lie. Okay. After he had left the organization, Paul Higgs, after he left the organization, he had denounced all of the church's practices. Then when he denounced all of their church practices, the church would also have his story of lying whenever anyone makes a statement like that one. Just like the statement that Leah Remedy makes and is out saying with Scientology, and they're claiming that she is exploiting them, as a bold-faced lie. She is one of the most bravest women I can ever see. And they were messing with. Now, have I had any problems with them? Yeah, once when they hacked my computer. Otherwise, they're not anywhere near my doorstep. So I took precautionaries to make sure that that doesn't happen. But unfortunately, everybody who leaves, including the LGBTQ community, are stalked, harassed, and intimidated, which is the most hideous thing to do. But then at the end, Hubbard's policy is never going to change. It is always going to stay the same. Leah Remedy and Mike Render, according to them, will never change. So, Leah, good for you. You came out and you said your story. Now everybody's aware of them even more. So, because all in all, Scientology is always going to have homophobic views within they're never going to change. They're never going to change their tactics. They're always going to harm people mentally and physically. Like they paid that street guy who happens to be homeless and didn't go without food. He wanted the money because he wanted to go to McDonald's and have a burger. And he was beaten up pretty badly. And Osa, if you think that's funny, you're evil. You've been lying to people for years. But guess what? You did not get away with it for much longer. Truth always comes out. It was out before, but now, since the internet was around, it splashed all over the world, and people are now noticing that you are doing horrible things, not just to ordinary people, but to the LGBTQ community. But you're not going to hurt them anymore because everybody knows about it and your numbers are declining. And ultimately, all the former members had revelation that Scientology have homophobic views within the LGBTQ community. When Scientology made the statement that's the LGBT community who was in Scientology, which everybody that comes out are brave. And everybody, including the LGBTQ community, are warriors and always continues to fight the good fight and end up winning. Because guess what? They weren't charged at all. Even though, okay, yes, they sat in a prison over the weekend. But however, the DA did not want to bother taking it into trial and just threw it out of court, and the judge agreed. So there was no trial, and they lost, which would lead to a huge conflict in the organization scripture that L. Ron Hubbard written about the LGBTQ community when David talked about them. Now, in public, he talked about acceptance, but in private, he never did. In public, he told a bold-faced lie. Then overall, he viewed homosexuality as a mental illness. But publicly, David Miscavige in public made that claim. Like I said before. All right. This would lead up to Scientology's policy supporting Proposition 8 in California, which would ban same-sex marriage. I remember that they were passing it out, like passing it around that, what is that called? Clipboard, thank you. And having everybody sign it. I did not sign it. And neither did anyone else, because you know why? It failed. It did not it didn't even make it onto the ballot. And it was not law either. And in conclusion, the church would also have a history of lying whenever everyone makes a statement. And they did that. It is unbelievable what people think they can get away with. Well, guess what? I'm winding down right now. It's been 30 minutes, and it looks like you guys liked it when I told the story of Sam and Melissa, because they had more of the views on my channel when I talked about them. So, looks like I'll bring more of them. So 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 if you want, if you think I earned it, buy me a coffee, hit the like, press subscribe, and I'll see you again. By the way, it's down below. So, want to buy me a coffee? It's down below. And again, hit that link, press subscribe, and I'll see you again tomorrow.